The New Orleans Pelicans have been a hot topic this offseason, making a blockbuster trade that sent Anthony Davis to the Los Angeles Lakers, surprisingly landing the #1 overall pick, where they took one of the most hyped prospects we have ever seen in Zion Williamson, and have put some solid pieces around their young core that should allow them to compete in the Western Conference. On the surface, they have one of the brightest futures in the league, but when you look a little bit closer, with some new things that have come to light, things might be a little less exciting than we initially thought. That's what we're talking about in today's video, so if you guys like my content, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's try to get 1 like for Zion staying healthy, and let's hop into it. Lonzo Ball came into the league with extremely high expectations after an historic season at UCLA, getting 15 points, 8 assists, shooting 55% from the field and 41% from 3. In his 2 years on the Los Angeles Lakers, while he impressed in a lot of elements such as passing and on-ball defense, he struggled putting the ball in the basket, shooting just 38% from the field and less than 33% from 3. But despite his early struggles, he is a fan favorite to turn things around and become one of the top young point guards in the NBA. Along with Lonzo's efficiency struggles, he's dealt with some injuries, playing in just 52 games as a rookie and 47 this past year. In his rookie season, he had different injuries throughout the year, but this past season, he was kept out for stretches at 3 different points in this season for the same injured body part in his ankle. It began in the beginning of November, where he tweaked his ankle in practice, then officially sprained it later that month, and in January had to be helped off the court with again a sprained ankle. Now we see players get injuries that get re-aggravated throughout the season, but it was clear Lonzo's left ankle was a problem for the whole entire year, which makes people wonder if there was more to this story. We were given a new narrative this week from a controversial character in Alan Foster. If you don't know who Alan Foster is, he was the behind-the-scenes man for both the Ball family and Big Baller brand. He was like a second father to Lonzo, but over the summer, it came out that the Ball family was accusing him of taking over $1.5 million from the brand and Lonzo personally. They are proceeding legally, and we haven't really heard much from Foster till he recently made a YouTube channel with the plan to expose the truth of the Ball family and clear his name. Now, this is just a brief overview of the Ball-Foster situation. If you want to know more details, go check out my man DKM. He's got all the Ball family inside info, but in Foster's first video, he decided to go over one topic, and that was Lonzo Ball's ankle. He made the claim that Lonzo was using his signature shoe as a scapegoat for what was a more serious injury. He claims that he took Lonzo to a specialist in Ohio who strongly recommended surgery for extremely damaged ligaments in his ankle. He then claims that the Lakers came to pick him up on the team plane once they heard of this and convinced him to go the route of physical therapy to save his trade value. He goes on to say that the wear and tear of LeVar's training throughout Lonzo's childhood have led to his 21-year-old ankles now being the equivalent of someone that is 31. Now, these are some bold claims, especially from someone with a criminal past that's trying to clear his name from new criminal allegations, but let's be honest here, it does make sense. And LiAngelo Ball, his brother, getting surgery on the same thing from the same specialist really adds to the validity of the situation. Now, not surprisingly, both the Ball family and the Pelicans responded to these allegations. The Pelicans said the team strongly debunks this and was very aware of Lonzo's injury history and status before we traded for him. The Ball family spokesperson Denise White said Alan Foster has repeatedly lied, defrauded, and stole from the Ball family. Anything he says cannot be trusted. Now, I don't believe that the injury is to the severity that Foster says because of who he is and the situation that he's in, but it's going to be an interesting storyline to follow. Now, if it happens to be that bad, it's not necessarily a career-ending situation, but surgery, along with recovery, would derail a very important period in Lonzo's development. Next, we have the #1 pick in the 2019 draft and the favorite to bring home Rookie of the Year in Zion Williamson. Now, I think Zion's injury potential has always been in the back of our heads. We've just been so distracted from his insane on-court dominance. In his lone season at Duke, he averaged 23 points, 9 rebounds, shooting 68% from the field and 34% from 3. His potential to be one of the league's best on both ends made him the clear #1 pick, but it looks like a lot's going to have to go right if he's going to stay on the court. Recently, it came out that Zion was going to miss some time due to knee soreness, but he ended up getting surgery on what's now being reported as a torn meniscus and will miss 6 to 8 weeks. We haven't seen Zion deal with any serious injuries, as in something that would keep him out for an entire season, but we have seen him deal with some small concerning ones. He had a foot injury in high school that caused him to miss some time, and of course, there was a time where he absolutely demolished his shoe in a non-contact situation against North Carolina that caused a mild sprain in his knee. This might go on to be one of the many examples of the detriment of his weight on his career. Another fellow YouTuber, Brian Sutterer, who's a doctor that goes over sports injuries, made a video about both Zion Williamson's current and long-term injury risk. And while he tried to stay as positive as possible, you leave the video with a lot of concern, especially if you're a Pelicans fan. The first thing he goes over is Zion's gait, which is the pattern and biomechanics someone displays when they walk or run. Now, Zion's abnormal walk has been talked about before with his weird side-to-side movement. Sutterer says that it appears from the clips we have of him walking that his knees have a valgus alignment, meaning they're abnormally bent inwards. This alone puts him at a higher risk of injury and is one of the highest risk factors for an ACL tear. He also brings up that Zion was reportedly 6'3", 173 pounds in his freshman season in high school, but by the time he was at Duke, he was 6'7", 285 pounds, which is concerning as while he put on a lot of muscle in a short time, his ligaments and joints don't grow at the same pace. Now, it's not just Zion's weight in that he's a professional athlete, as defensive linemen and offensive linemen in the NFL don't actually have the highest injury rate as you might think, but it's his massive weight combined with his play style that features him jumping up in the air 40 inches off the ground on a nightly basis. Let's think about this simply. 285 pounds going to the ground from over 3 feet in the air doesn't sound too great for whatever's cushioning that fall, especially if it's a body part that's dealing with it on a nightly basis in an 82-game season. Not only is there an immediate injury concern with Zion, which we're already seeing, but the long-term stress and fatigue on his tendons, joints, and knees might be the biggest concern, which ultimately holds him back from NBA greatness. Now, I'm not trying to say Zion is guaranteed to have an injury-plagued career. He could lose some weight, evolve his play style, or flat out continue to be a freak of nature and really not have to deal with him in a drastic fashion. It's going to be interesting to look back on this video and see how Zion panned out in terms of injuries. Next, we have the third member of the Pelicans' young trio in Brandon Ingram, who hasn't become the next Kevin Durant as some predicted, but has had a solid start to his career, getting over 18 points this past season, shooting 50% from the field and 33% from 3. As he develops as a shooter, he has all the tools to be one of the league's top scorers. Ingram's situation is much different than the others, as it's not a ligament, joint, or muscle, but he has been dealing with deep vein thrombosis or blood clots in his right shoulder. This injury required surgery and kept him out for the end of last season. Now, it could be in something very small, we never really talk about it again, but it could also be something that has a major effect on his life and career. A negative example would be Chris Bosh, who dealt with the same thing but in his leg, causing him to never play in the NBA again after having a season where he got 19 points and 7 rebounds on good efficiency at just 31 years old. Now, Bosh's case is a little bit different than Ingram's, as he had a recurring clot that caused him to go on long-term blood thinners, not allowing him to touch the court. Ingram got surgery, is now off blood thinners, and is set to make his Pelicans debut, but there's always concern as once you have a clot, you're at a much higher chance of getting one again. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm not saying Zion is going to have Derrick Rose knees, Lonzo's ankle is going to ruin his career, and Brandon Ingram is going to be in the same situation as Chris Bosh. It's just when talking about their future, we need to temper our expectations with the amount of injury concern throughout this roster. Now, on top of these individual injuries, the Pelicans medical staff doesn't alleviate much concern. This season, we saw criticism go to their staff for being too football-like. A massive contributor to this belief is that they share the same medical staff with an NFL team in the New Orleans Saints. It's been reported that this was one of the many contributors that pushed Anthony Davis out of New Orleans. Now, obviously, there were other reasons, such as a poorly run front office that shelled out terrible contracts to guys like Solomon Hill and Omar Ashiq, but the Pelicans staff has continuously been cited as one of the worst in the league. Last season, the Pelicans suffered the most games lost due to injury, costing them nearly $30 million in lost salary. The season before that, they ranked third to last in games lost due to injury. The season before that, they ranked dead last again. Over the last 5 seasons, the Pelicans have lost the second most games due to injury or illness. Only the 76ers have fared worse over the last 5 seasons, which has been well chronicled. An example of their staff's misdoings was the firing of 2 orthopedists following the misdiagnosis of Saints cornerback Delvin Breaux's broken leg as a bone bruise. One of these physicians, Dr. Surrey, was serving dual roles with the Saints and Pelicans. Saints coach Sean Payton said, "I don't think it's a one-time event. It probably builds up over a period of time. You're not going to bat 1,000 here. You're just hoping that more often than not, you're giving us the right information." Despite being let go by the Saints, Dr. Surrey maintained his position on the New Orleans Pelicans. Anthony Davis's trainer in New Orleans said that the Saints need to be the Saints. They get all the recognition anyways. We need basketball guys with basketball guys and football guys with football guys. That's how this organization is going to move forward. These are just some of the many examples that have led to the Pelicans medical staff being considered one of the worst in the league, which is extremely concerning with their current injury situations. In conclusion, on the surface, the Pelicans have a bright future with a trio of Lonzo with a newfound jump shot, the clear #1 pick in Zion Williamson, and Brandon Ingram, who has the potential to be a great scorer. This is on top of two of the most underrated rookies in Jackson Hayes and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who based on their summer league performances are in for solid careers. So I'm not trying to make the point that the Pelicans are doomed for failure, rather that their current and future injury risk, along with a medical staff with a very poor reputation, could cause things to not go exactly as planned. Regardless, I hope nothing but the best for this group, and I'm really excited to see them take the court together this season. But with all that said, that's the end of you guys. You guys tell me your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. And the shoutouts are gonna be Bucky, Elaine, Bruno, Ivan, and PJ. If you guys want to shout out in the next video, all you gotta do is like the video and comment liked, and I'll shout 5 you guys out. With all that being said, hope you guys have a great day, and peace.